Presenting comments as part of an online news article is not standard practice. Online commenting sections at news websites have become less common, as many news outlets have opted to shut down their discussion forums and redirect the conversation about news to social media. Many news outlets have tried to foster online discussion around news articles, but often only a few comments add relevant questions, personal stories, and other valuable information. Additionally, elevating comments from the discussion can actually introduce risks for a news outlet. Exposure to toxic comments can polarize opinions about news articles and diminish the trust that people have in news reporting. Many news outlets mitigate these risks by designing visual distance between articles and online discussion in the user interface, such as by hiding the comments by default, positioning the discussion interface at the end of an article, and turning the commenting features off entirely. Content moderation systems can help to reduce the noise caused by off-topic and toxic comments by making decisions about how to reject and prioritize comments on the back end. Hello, my name is Brian McInnis, and in this study that I conducted with co-authors Leah Ajmani and Stephen Dow, we investigated how highlighting comments with visual and interactive features on the front end of a news website might contribute to valuable outcomes in the reader experience. How does presenting comments in a news article affect the ways that readers engage with and retain information about news? In this study, we operationalized participant engagement as the amount of time people spent interacting with the online discussion interface, the number of topically relevant comments posted to the discussion, and whether people would recommend the news article to others. To assess the amount of information recalled about news articles, we used a series of open as well as closed response items, applying statistical techniques from item response theory to account for question difficulty. The study involved a tightly controlled online experiment in which participants were asked to read and think about an online news article for a minimum of 1 minute, and were presented with one of two news articles in which the discussion about articles was represented in one of four ways, modeled after the two-panel article discussion design at the New York Times website. The conditions included presenting just the comments in a single thread, called the All Baseline condition, providing highlights in a second tab, called the Curated condition, providing conversational prompts along with the comments, as well as annotating the comments directly to a data visualization within the news article. The image above is a notional depiction of the annotation condition, in which shows how the three conversation prompts in the discussion correspond with prompts annotated to the data visualization. The image above depicts the annotation condition as it appeared for participants in the study. In total, 336 people participated in the 2x4 factorial design study. The procedures involved an initial informed consent process, followed by a pre-survey to assess participant trust in news reporting, their self-assessed knowledge about the news topics, as well as an assessment of their actual knowledge about content in the selected articles. Following the pre-survey, participants were randomly assigned to one of two article conditions and one of four design conditions, with the only instruction to read and think about the news article presented in an interactive news interface modeled after the New York Times website. During this phase, we tracked system-logged activity, including their dwell time in different components of the user interface, such as the news article versus the discussion. Our analysis of this data involved hand coding for whether participants appeared to be scanning or reading sections of the content. Upon exiting the interactive news interface, participants completed a post-survey, which involved questions about whether they would recommend the article, what topics they remember from the online discussion, as well as a series of open and closed questions about information in the news article. To account for differences in the article content, we also asked participants to review and respond to questions about the article that was not assigned in the interactive news interface. Our analysis presents a design trade-off between designing to promote more participant engagement versus higher levels of knowledge retention. Specifically, we found that by comparison to the all baseline condition, participants assigned to the annotation condition spent more time interacting with the discussion and were more likely to post new comments. However, we also found that participants in the annotation condition recalled fewer information items presented in the articles than participants in the all condition, even after controlling for factors related to participant background, including prior knowledge and trust in the reporting. As an example of our participant engagement analysis, the chart above presents the system logged activity associated with a participant in the annotation condition, which illustrates their journey through the article content to the data visualization, then into the discussion comments, and deeper into the recommended comments. As an example of how we analyzed information recall, the graph above presents the amount of article information retained, or the average count of items recalled and their standard error, by condition and relative position of the information to the data visualizations. As the items reflect information that was presented throughout each article, we investigated whether information presented earlier in the article, above the data visualization, was more or less memorable than information presented later in the article, or below the data visualization. Our analysis found a significant difference in recall by position in the article, such that more of the information about the data visualization was recalled than information below, but especially in the annotation condition. The findings illustrate the various considerations for integrating discussion content into a news article. These include deciding where and how to add comments, as well as paying attention to participant characteristics, such as existing knowledge, ability, and feelings of trust in a news source. Additionally, our findings offer implications for content moderation systems. Read the paper to learn more about the trade-offs to making discussion more salient, paying attention to how participant characteristics relate to desired outcomes, and moderating content from the front end of a news website. Now you might be wondering, what's the upshot? Is there a happy middle ground when designing for different values in the reader experience at a news website? While our analysis identified a stark trade-off between the annotation and all conditions, we discuss how adding conversational prompts to a thread of comments may promote engagement without negatively affecting knowledge retention. The study could not have been possible without the exceptional support of several terrific research assistants. The idea for the study emerged during a heated debate about the dubious value of online commenting during a weekly UC San Diego Design Lab meeting. Finally, the research was supported by funding from the National Science Foundation. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to your questions.